was just really motivated to make this kind of video. So we'll follow up right where we left off. It looked like the last book I had read was Morning Star by Pierce Brown. So if you want to hear my thoughts on that, you can go back to that video. It will have been a lot fresher in my mind. This is actually couldn't even tell you when I read this. I'm sure it's somewhere noted in this system, but I don't have it. So the first book that we'll talk about is Nemesis Games. This is another of the Expanse series, and I love this series. I finished it, and I thought throughout it was very solid. I liked that in this one, there was no mention at all of the, I guess for lack of a better word, alien impact. So I thought that was really well done. It still held my attention, even though it didn't have any of the fantastical elements that I tend to like. Next was Sphere, and this is going to kick off probably a lot of these books you'll see are books I could just find on YouTube as the full recorded audiobook. So this one, Michael Crichton's Sphere, I thought it was interesting. I like that it was descriptive. I thought it was really kind of interesting to read through, but except some of the, it's sort of a mystery that you're reading through, what's actually happening in this scientific world. But it didn't seem extremely well planned out. I think if he had gone and written down a timeline of things and had things kind of follow in a certain order, it would have made more sense. I think he would have noticed that he had some contradictions going. Let's see what's next. How to Win Friends and Influence People. This was just a book I could find to listen to for free. I thought it was kind of neat. It's nothing revolutionary, but if you do struggle talking to people, check it out. I mean, it's some classic advice. It's talked up a lot, it wants to turn you into a salesperson, but there's just some generally kind of interesting things you can learn too. Babylon's Ashes is the next in the Expanse series, and the aliens came back. That was awesome. Alien stuff is back. That's what my review says. Then I read Gideon the Ninth. This book was not for me. I can tell a lot of work went into it, but I had trouble keeping track of the characters. I don't know. I think that there was some mystery aspect to it, but for me, I just couldn't keep track of it. I don't know. This book is full on angst. And if you like that, that's cool. And the characters are interesting, but they don't feel in any way believable. Their abilities that they have and the way they carry themselves just don't match up. So if you like this book, that's awesome. It's not for me. It's a very different book. To me, I found it too incongruous to find my footing in it. Persepolis Rising. Once again, the alien stuff was back. If you haven't read the Expanse series, I highly recommend it. It's probably my number one recommendation in the science fiction genre. Then Tiamat's Wrath, and finally Leviathan Falls. Awesome series. Can't say enough good things about it. And then I read Magic for Beginners, which I think was suggested in another YouTube book review, ASMR video that I had seen, but my review is as follows. Hit, miss. ostracizing because they're short stories. And that's why my review is the hit and miss. But I did like the majority of them. Less than half of them in my mind were misses, which is great. And again, some of those just aren't for me. Then I read Song of Achilles. This is extremely well written by Madeline Miller. It feels like it was written in the era that these stories come from. Like, it really seems like it's something we're just discovering from a long time ago. It's really interesting. This book is very gay. There's a gay love story in it. And I didn't know how steamy it was going to be. But it was a good read nevertheless. Just not what I was expecting, but really enjoyed that one. I gave that 5 stars. And next I have Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I thought this was a cute book. I like that they wove in a lot of different kind of fairy tales and folk tales for the book. I didn't think that the driving action of the story, it didn't really grab me. But I liked the world it was in, I guess is the way to say it. Next was the Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. This book is fluffy and cute and charming. It is interesting. It really feels like a young adult novel, but just like with a ton of swearing. Because I think a lot of things are like one-dimensional, and it's not too difficult to stomach. But then like in the last quarter of the book, it gets like very romantic. So it was neat, but to me, I didn't feel like there was enough going on for it to warrant the adult themes. Like, I don't mind reading young adult literature, but it just was sort of fun in both camps, and I found that hard to kind of immerse myself in. The next book I read was Circe by Madeline Miller. Again, this is the same author of the Song of Achilles. And this might be the best book I read that year. Outstanding. It's my review is unbearably beautiful. It's honestly, it is so well written. I'm getting chills like just thinking about it. So, Circe, huge fan of that. Wow. I was blown away by this. I had recommended to my sister that she read Song of Achilles. And she had gone to a bookstore, and the folks there told her, I know you're looking for this book by Madeline Miller, but we recommend you check out Circe. And she did, and she recommended it to me, and it knocked my socks clean off. Next up was Hellbent by Lee Bardugo. My review is magic is real, and you can read it. I think they did an awesome job in this book. She, the author, did an awesome job in this book of continuing to bring new mysterious elements to the world of magic that she'd created. I think that's not always easy to do, because you kind of want to stick to one school of magic, or to the concept you've created, but it felt fresh, but also familiar. So I think this was a good installment in the series, and I can't wait to see if there's another one. Next I read Project Hail Mary. My review is Nerds Rejoice. My reviews get a little more sparse because my son stopped taking naps, so I was sort of guaranteed a little bit of downtime sometimes, but he stopped napping, and and so I didn't have a ton of time to write nice reviews, but I really enjoyed this book. There's a new movie coming out with Ryan Gosling, and I think he's going to do a great job playing a nerd. I don't want to give any spoilers for this, but it's fun. The storytelling is a little bit fragmented, it's non-linear. Well, not that it tells things backwards, but you sort of get two storylines kind of intermingled, and it pulls a whole picture together that eventually you understand, but at the beginning is a very, very confusing in a good way. Then I finished Annihilation. I've been reading this book for 4 years, and it's not a long book. It is not a long book, but it did take 4 years to read it. The book is really weird, which is a thing I really enjoy, but I don't think that it found anything kind of solid for us to stand on. I don't think there were any stakes. At a certain point, it's like, oh, am I just I'm just trudging through a swamp. There's no peak you're going to reach. I do like that it has a limited perspective, so that you can't tell what everyone else is thinking, and we see this world through the scope of one person, which, because of the psychological elements of the book, is really interesting. Then I read Parable of the Sower, which is the first Octavia Butler book that I read. I noted in my review, this is before I had read much Octavia Butler, I was just impressed about the apocalypse style depiction of our society, and I enjoyed that it was written by a woman. I don't think that we see, at least in my experience, I haven't read a lot of apocalyptic, post or pre-apocalyptic literature by women, and in fact I would actually call this pre-apocalyptic, because it's a world where people live in walled cities to protect themselves from raiders and gangs who set fire to things, but people also have jobs and they go to work for money, and universities exist. So it's very interesting. It's right in that in-between place, and then I went on this huge kick of reading Octavia Butler, which we'll see later. I read Mickey 7. This was a funny book. It was funny. It was not too long. It was nothing riveting, but it was good. And then I watched the movie, and the movie was excellent. I like Bong Joon-ho as a director. It's my wife's favorite director, so he always gets a watch in our house. Then I read The House on the Cerulean Sea. I think this one was young adult literature, and it was really cute. I wrote in my review, I think any child who might see themselves as a little different will love this book, and I'll stand by that. It's very much kind of like a found family type of thing, which is pretty popular these days. And then I read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I didn't give a review for this one, but this was I'm trying to remember if this was the one with Hamish or the one with was okay. I would give this a solid average rating. It was not a book that I would recommend. It was just a book that I had. I think there were too many, like, misdirects, and there wasn't, like, you couldn't actually see things. Like, if you have a story about, like, oh, this person or this entity is, like, controlling all of us, and then where are they all the time? Like, they should be involved somehow if they have all this power, but, like, seemingly just random things are happening all the time, and one of these girls has, like, magic powers, which get used in one of the dumbest ways possible. Yeah. Okay, Sunrise on the Reaping, then this was the Haymitch one. I think this was the better of the two, in my book. And then I have None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. This is one that I was able to find on YouTube as well. There's sort of like an audio play version, and I thought that was awesome. It's like tense. I remember like shuddering and like, you know, getting like, you know, goosebumps. Really, really good thriller. Focuses on like stalking, and it's really cool. Very cool. If you like true crime stuff, I think you'd like this, even though it's not true. None of this is true. It sort of reads like that style story, I guess. And then I read An Unkindness of Ghosts, and I wrote an extremely lengthy review. This is a bad book. I think a lot of the ideas are fun. I like the ship that they're on is very cool. But nothing in any way seems related to cause and effect at all. Like there's no consequences for, well, there are consequences for doing things, but they're immediate. There's no, like, nothing in one room affects anything else in a different room, if that makes sense, which is just like impossible on like a spaceship. So I'm sorry if you like this book. I think there are things you can like about it, but overall it just feels like there was no planning. It really felt like the author sat down and like just wrote a little bit of whatever they wanted, and then didn't bother connecting it to anything else in the story. There's no cohesive theme or like motivation for the characters. All of the characters seem very similar as well. I mean, like, every character is the protagonist, essentially, except for one woman who is her best friend, who is like her Patrick Star to her SpongeBob, and just messes up everything she wants to do. And I don't know why we spend so much time on this person, but it's like this, like, the central figure of the story. It's, I don't know, I can't say enough bad things about this book, because you can read the book and explore all the bad things yourself. And I'm so sorry if you are Rivers Solomon and you are hearing this. Thank you for visiting my channel. I hate that I didn't enjoy your book, and I know this was your debut novel, and I'm sure you're gonna get better and better at it. This was messy. There was no reward for this. Didn't like. Okay, then we read The Mercy of the Gods. It's not The Expanse. series, but I did still like it quite a lot. Wild Seed. And then against my better judgment, I read Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. This is the same author who wrote the Final Girls support group. This was marginally better. A lot of times I thought, just give up. It will be just so much easier if you just give up, but I don't know. That's just me, which is not fun, because, I don't know. I wrote my review, fabricated suspense, untimely comedy, and bafflingly dense main characters. Let's see, but I would recommend this if you're fans of like the classic horror genre, like Rosemary's Baby type of thing, or even maybe like Poltergeist. I think a lot of the there are things that happen that you'll enjoy in this book. I thought some of it it was cool, but I don't think that it's my favorite of his, but it's not one I would recommend for people who don't already like the horror genre. Then I read Bloodchild and Other Stories. Bloodchild was incredible. This story was just mind-blowing, and I have such an appreciation for Octavia Butler. I enjoyed the essays as well, not just the fiction, but some of her essays as well were really illuminating, and I just think she was such an insightful, thoughtful person, and luckily she liked to write, so we get to see all of that come to life in her stories. Then I read Mind of My Mind, which I think is maybe top 2 in the Pattern Master series, but again, I haven't finished it, but I did really like Mind of My Mind. I think maybe this is my favorite in the series. It was, I don't know, where, I can't even describe it. It's just so good. Clay's arc, not as good. This was the only book of hers, I think, I've read that I was like, okay, this book can end. I'm ready for this book to end already. I just couldn't get. It felt too isolated for it to have any kind of real impact on me. There was no critique on the world at large, like there are in her other books. And then I read Chapter House Dune. I finally finished the Dune series. I finally finished it. I'm glad that I did, but this book, it really, really lost me. It was a slog to finish this. Again, this is another book I've been reading for years. And then I read Ancillary Justice, or Ancillary Justice by Ann Leckie. And hot dog, that is how you write a space opera. Coming hot off the heels of Dune into this, I thought this is amazing, and it is. This is how you write a space opera. I wrote a wholly original, dazzlingly surreal, and deeply human. That's something I say a lot when I review sci-fi, but you just are so enmeshed in these characters, and they just go about life in this vastly different world from ours. Just beautifully done. Really, really enjoyed Ancillary Justice, and I'm reading through the rest of the series now. Then I read Pattern Master by Octavia Butler. I wrote in my review, it almost makes trudging through Clay's arc worth it. so good. I literally, I have no other words to say about the works of Octavia Butler. Just insanely good. Tight storylines. There's not a wasted letter in her stories. Every single word is spoken, is like written with such intention. Like it's leading to something. You'll never read one of her books and say like, you know, what's actually happening right now. This is flowery language. I don't understand what's going on. You will never ever get that in one of her books. And yet she still tells these really intricate stories with these really deep emotions. Powerful writing. And then I read Neuromancer by William Gibson. I get why it's a classic. I actually did not, I'll tell on myself, I did not read the full book. There is an abridged version which was read by the author. And I found that and listened to it, and that was very cool. I really enjoyed hearing an author read his own work. Something I'd never thought about before, but he read the whole story, and you get the sense of like how he meant different things by how he reads them, and the story's good. It is really a landmark in the science fiction world as sort of the genesis of the cyberpunk genre, and man, it is, it's good. I have no bad things to say about this. It's gritty, so if you don't like, some violence, some kind of punk, if you don't like that, I would avoid reading this book, but if you can get into that, I mean, this is a no-brainer. You gotta read this. Then I went on a William Gibson kick. You can see, probably. I read Burning Chrome, which was a series of short stories. And that was a really good kind of primer into this world that he's created. I thought Neuromancer was good. And then some of the stories in Burning Chrome, like, I still think about them. I read this months ago. And I'll still, like, get, like, wistful thinking about one of these stories. So, it's fun. It's not just a story about advanced technology. It's about the people and their relationship with it, and how it overrides people sometimes. Really cool. Then I read Virtual Light by William Gibson, which is essentially, I think, the same world. It just happens on the West Coast instead of the East Coast. And the protagonist of this is he's not an especially skilled, like, digital user, I guess you'd say. He's just a guy who happens into this world. I still thought this was good. I don't think it was as good as Burning Chrome, but it was still good. And then I read Count Zero, which is, of course, the second in the Sprawl trilogy, which begins with Neuromancer. I like this one a lot as well. There were some mystery aspects to this that were really good and really tied into the world and enhanced it in a way. So I like that this series kept upping the ante on what's possible. I'll say that, no spoilers. Then I read Ancillary Sword by Anne Leckie. This was the second in the Ancillary trilogy, I guess it is. I think they call it the Ratch series. But it's just like, this was full of like intrigue and like intentions and mysteries and just the perfect space opera. And then, you know, it's got all of that, and then sort of at the last minute, everything kind of like is like, oh, you forgot you were reading like a sci-fi action series. Well, don't forget it. this just a couple weeks ago. That's how you can tell we're getting to the end and not just this blue banner at the top. Let's see where I ended up with that. Oh, okay, yeah, there was a character in this and I don't understand her connection to the rest of the story. But otherwise, I thought in this series, it takes different stories and then sort of weaves them all in one culmination as things come together. And I really like how that's done. And then the last book I finished was Idoru, which is the second in the Virtual Light series. Now, I think that's called the Bridge trilogy. Again, it's West Coast stuff. This one takes place mainly in Japan, and I thought it was good. I like that there's just two characters from the first book that are in this book, and that's what makes it the same series. That there's virtually no connection at all to the first book, and I think the Sprawl trilogy does the same thing, and I just think that's kind of fun. That it's yeah, sure, it's a sequel because these two characters are in it. And that's it. That's the full list of things I've read since our last video, so I hope you enjoyed this. I know I probably rambled quite a lot about this, but if you've read any of these, let me know, and if your opinion differs from mine, let me know what I missed, because I just love to talk about books and